This is the Frat House Sports Show. And now for this week's completely different and humorous perspective on everything sports, here's Frat House Mike and Sidekick.
Well, here we go, coming back at you for another full week of sports here on the all-new Frat House Sports Show on the first week of December. And God, it has been one hell of a week of sports. I mean, hasn't it? I mean, seriously. Yeah. When you take a look at, everything that has taken place in all of sports, starting off last Thursday, Thanksgiving, we had 3 football games, 3 NFL games, incredible collegiate matchups on Saturday, including what some are calling the greatest college football moment. Some are actually going so far as to say it might have been the greatest sports moment of all time. Auburn beating number 1 Alabama 34-28 on a 109-yard field goal attempt to win with no time remaining on the clock. Well, then we had, throw in on Sunday, more incredible NFL games, including upsets by the Jaguars, Vikings, and the Falcons, as well as close ones for the Broncos, the Patriots, Eagles, and the Ravens, all topped off by an incredible performance by Russell Wilson on Monday evening. But you would think that with all of that, that's where we'd be starting. We're going to start it off this evening with baseball. And joining us on the line to discuss some recent Major League Baseball developments is our friend, resident MLB analyst and host of CLW 83's Touch 'em All Internet Baseball radio production, Jim Williams. Jim, how are we doing tonight?
Mike, Sidekick, doing well. Hope everybody's enjoying the holiday season up there at the world-renowned Frat House.
It's starting to look a bit like Christmas around here, I will say that.
Ooh, very nice.
Thanks for being with us for just a few minutes this evening, Jim. Listen, I brought you on because kind of ironically, just this morning I posted our Daily Today in Sports Memory on our Frat House Sports Facebook page, and I know you check that every day. Remembering that today, exactly 35 years ago today, in 1978, Pete Rose signed a 4-year contract worth $3.2 million. That was $800,000 a year with the Philadelphia Phils. Interestingly enough, that made Rose the highest paid player in Major League Baseball.
How times have changed.
Yes. How about on Tuesday, though, this week, the New York Yankees signed Boston Reds free agent center fielder Jacoby Ellsbury to a 7-year plus $1, $22 million a year contract. One comment from me. What the hell? Give us your reaction there, analyst.
This is a mind-numbing contract when you get right down to it, in my humble opinion, because here's a guy in Jacoby Ellsbury. Solid player.
Yeah.
When he's healthy. That's the key thing. That's the $64,000 or maybe the $153 million question, as it were. We have to change the game show reference. He goes through a trend where one year he's like gangbusters, he'll still 40, 50 bases. The next year he'll be out for 2/3 of a season. Yep. The following year, again, he'll have a great year. The next year, he's injured again. That's been his MO the last couple of years. In fact, he had a great year last year, all things told, in the stall and base department and what have you. So the belief is, well, it's going to happen again. He's going to have a bad year. He may not see 130, 140 starts in the outfield in New York.
Right.
7 years, 153, way too high. The Red Sox were offering closer to 100, maybe 110 million, and I still think that would be a bit too far-fetched, in my humble opinion. This is a ridiculous deal by the Yankees. It does them no favors on a couple of aspects. Number one, they have more outfielders than they can shake a stick at this point. And number two, there's this guy, you may have heard of him at second, named Robinson Cano.
Yep.
You may have heard of him. They're trying to think about allocating money to keep him as the quote-unquote franchise there in the Bronx. Although we're hearing, as we record this Thursday evening, about various things about how maybe Cano could be going to the Pacific Northwest. Seattle's whining and dining him now. We'll see how that goes, and maybe we'll have to have another talk about this down the road. But the Ellsbury deal is just a joke. It's too much money over too many years for a guy who's going to be 37, 38 years old at the end of the contract, and I guarantee you the option will not be picked up. They may dump him before the life of the contract is over.
Ellsbury has played only 59% of his games in the past 4 seasons. You talk about him going in and out. 4 years ago, he only played 18 games out of 162. I think 2 years ago, it was only 53. This is such a typical, I guess from an outsider looking in, typical Yankee move. Jim, explain it. What the hell are they thinking?
I think the better way to put it is they're not thinking. I think that's what it comes down to. They see what they're getting. They're seeing a world champion caliber guy who's been a part of a world championship team in Boston, and they see that he brings speed to the table. Mm-hmm. But this is against the grain for everything the Yankees have been known to do over the better part of the last 2 decades. They've never really gone for speed so much as they've gone for home run hitters and power hitters, people who hit 25, 30, 35, 40 home runs in the outfield. Yep. They're going the all-star. They've always assembled an all-star team type of thing. Now they're getting a guy who, paired with the other current outfielders in the Bronx, combined, the outfield will maybe have 20 home runs all season. It does not make a lick of sense to me, and this is just a bad deal. And here's a guy who's hitting, 270, you said?
270, yep, 270 season? Over the past 4.
It's not like you can, if he's hurt or if he needs a day off, you can't put him in the DH role because he's not DH material, right. So it makes no sense.
Yep, I agree. Real quick, since, and I want to get you back in January. Real quick, we're going to get you back in January to do a longer hot stove segment. But real quick, Definitely. Assess for me this free agency market. It seems to me it's a little weaker than some we've seen in the past.
We've seen, I think, the biggest moves that are going to be made. I mean, the Prince Fielder move. The Prince Fielder move to Texas, which is a genius move on both ends. Mm-hmm. And now this move, and McCann going to the Yankees as well. And that's a whole other conundrum to talk about when we get back in touch with you in January. I think we've seen the biggest moves of this free agency period.
With the exception of maybe Cano.
Yeah, well, Cano. Yeah. But ultimately, I think Cano is going to stay in New York.
Okay.
I don't see him going to Seattle. He's going to have to tuck his tail between his legs. Jay-Z also is going to have to tuck his tail between his legs. It's really his doing, if you ask me. And he's going to have to take less money, $180 or $200 million. Oh, woe is he. Mm-hmm. But outside of the Cano deal, you're absolutely right. You're going to see bit players moving here and there. Look at who the Phillies have picked up in the offseason. Bit players.
Marlon Byrd, yeah.
Bird's a big player, I'm sorry.
Just mentioning real quick about the Phils. You saw the comments from Cole Hamels yesterday. A lot of fans upset about it. I, for one, being a Phils fan, not upset by it at all. I think the guy spoke the truth.
Dude showing some gumption. I love it.
I thought it was cool.
This guy wants to win. He gets it, okay? This is the kind of guy you want on your team. You want him to say this because he's a leader. I have no problem with what he said. He's absolutely in the right.
And this team is void of leadership, as we well know.
Well, the only thing they're not void of is Geritol, because they're going to be the oldest team taking the field at this rate starting in April.
You got that one. All right, Jim, as promised, we're going to get you back in January for a longer segment. We appreciate you being here for your comments on Ellsbury. We'll catch you up. My pleasure, and sadly, next time you'll probably see my ugly mug on the TV behind you. For those of you watching on YouTube, I'm sorry. No, we look forward to it. We'll catch up with you then. Have a good holiday, guys. Thanks. Yep. All right, there you go. Well, let's switch it up, and we're going to get our sports back kind of on track a little bit, a little more seasonal. And that means, let's go. How about some NHL hockey? And as usual, our NHL report this week brought to you by our friends down in Baltimore at www.herbfm.com, where you can hear the audio rebroadcast of our Frat House Sports Show from right here, along with all their other live broadcasts and other programming that they give on that network, that internet network. So give them a listen. And it's time for you to give a listen to our regular hat trick segment with our own Uncle Mark. All right, Mark, so tell us, what do you got for us this week in the world of frozen ponds?
Well, let me ask you, when I say the name Wayne Gretzky, do you know who that is? Well, sure, it's a great one. Yeah, okay, well, some of our younger viewers may have forgotten who he is, and apparently the NHL forgot about him for about 4 years. It was announced earlier this week that Wayne Gretzky is going to get his back-paid salary from 2009 when he was coach and, well, managing director of the Phoenix Coyotes. Now, that team, you may remember, went belly up and went into bankruptcy. Well, the man's due for about $8 million. Not bad for a coach, huh?
Listen, in today's world, absolutely. That's incredible.
Well, it's a funny thing, you know, I had to do a little research on this story because it blew my mind. First of all, that number, that's more than the highest paid players in the NHL make now. So it caused me to say, well, why is this? So I had to go back and do a little bit of timeline from 2000 when he went in there. That was his first gig following a 20-year NHL career. I mean, he rewrote the record books, we know. Mm-hmm. The man is probably, arguably, the best that ever was in the game. And he hooked up with essentially two partners. One was basically the owner of the team, Steve Ellman, the majority partner, and the second was Jerry Moyes, who was also in charge. So between the three, the triumvirate, they decided that they were going to buy stock and make this team be the ultimate contender. Fast forward 2005, he becomes coach. Everybody was waiting for it. He had a mediocre career. Come 2006, both of his partners are firmly entrenched. They are keeping this team. They're not sure what to do with him. Reading between the lines, we'll keep you on as coach. We'll give you a 5-year contract, and it's going to be worth $7 to $8 million a year. There's his piece of the pie. Fast forward again, 2009, NHL now owns the team. Yep. 29 other owners own the team. They are not interested in keeping Wayne Gretzky if he decides that he wants to.
Well, he wasn't a very good coach. Let's get it straight.
No, not terribly. About a 43% win rate. Yep. It was a shame. Guilty of cronyism. Guilty of a lot of things that happened. First time the man ever lost. Well, ultimately what happens, they come out of bankruptcy in 2013. They're now privately owned by Calgary financier George Gretzky. And the team, if you look on the stat sheets, is doing quite well. Okay, enter Gretzky again. They finally made peace with him. He's going to get his money. Essentially, he and Bettman have never publicly broken down. This has never been a marriage gone wrong and dragged through the tabloids. However, he has been conspicuously absent in the last 4 years, and they really need this guy, they believe, to be what he was supposed to be, which is carry the mantle for the NHL and bring in new viewership.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole demise was the fact that the owner went into bankruptcy.
Correct.
Had no money. So this was money that was due to Gretzky, due to contract. But then the NHL turned around and sold the team for what, 117 or 170 million dollars. So Gretzky, I think has a right to say, hey, I was owed this money. You sold the team. You guys made 170 million. Where's
but correct me if I'm wrong, Mark. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't it a situation where the NHL said it's not our responsibility, you're not our liability?
Well, essentially that's correct. That didn't come
Their attitude
directly.
was get in line. I mean, it's like bankruptcy court when you've got creditors, and that was their attitude, I believe.
Yeah, that didn't come directly from the lips of Bettman, but essentially that was the message. Listen, you were a part owner. You had a 10% stake in it. If you win, you get some. If you lose, hey, belly up to the poor line, you lost too, dude.
Right, exactly.
So this is an olive branch.
But we know when we talk about Bettman, nothing comes from his mouth. It comes out the other end. I mean, always has. I mean, just look at the lockout last year.
Well, that's a fact. And that kind of leads me into my next thing. I wanted to hit you up with today in hockey history. How about we go back to 1991, San Jose Sharks. They were a brand new team that year. And on this date, the 5th of December in 91, how many goalies do you think they needed to win a game against Pittsburgh? Well, normally they carry 2. How about it took 3? That being a very interesting event in which the starter Jeff Hackett got injured. The backup Arturs Irbe likewise got injured. So what did they do? They went to the stands and pulled out their 3rd goalie. And in fact, they were able to bring in Brian Hayward to complete the game for an 8-0 rout versus the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Literally out of the stands.
Out of the stands, come on down and play. So how many goalies really do you need? Kind of takes me to another big name in hockey, and that would be one Martin Brodeur. Yep. Martin Brodeur. We know this guy. I think you've heard him. You heard of this guy, haven't you?
Yeah, I hate
Martin
this guy.
Brodeur. I think, yeah. Well, once again, for our younger viewers, maybe you don't know who Martin Brodeur is, but I mean, he's a 3-time Stanley Cup champion. He's a 4-time Vezina winner. He's rewriting the record books himself. He has 2 Olympic gold medals. Mm-hmm. And, well, he comes from sort of a lineage of Brodeurs in the NHL. His father, recently deceased, played in 1956 and for the Canadian team in the Olympics, but he actually was a journeyman through the NHL, primarily in the lower ranks, and got kicked around, but ultimately found his niche as a professional photographer for both Montreal Canadiens and the Montreal Expos. And with his passing, he was able to offer that mantle now to Martin Brodeur, who carries on as a top-flight goalie. Well, come to find out, talk about 3 goalies, he's got 2 sons that are working their way into the NHL ranks. Young Anthony is 18 years old, stand-up goalie just like his father. Currently with the Gatineau Olympiques of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. He himself was drafted by his father, made the announcement in 2013 down at the Prudential Center, and looks to be possibly following right behind his father in terms of his playing style and potentially becoming a member of New Jersey Devils. Following him would be Jeremy, just a year younger. And Jeremy Brodeur is actually the twin of 2. The other being William, who's a grinding forward, so something went wrong. The DNA kind of messed up. He's not in the pipes. But young Jeremy is more of a butterfly-style goalie, and he's playing currently in the college ranks. Hopefully, he's going to be eligible for the draft in 2015 and wants to join the Oshawa Generals. It's funny because evidently he takes a lot of criticism from his brother and his father because of his goaltending style. His father quipping quite often, "Why did you play the whole game on your knees?" So there you have a little bit of Brodeurism. Arguably the man's last year, 2013 and 14, this would be Martin Brodeur. He's got a no-trade clause in his contract. He does not want to leave New Jersey, but should he find the right opportunity, he'd be willing to waive that clause and potentially finish up this year with a contending team, if not New Jersey. It certainly looks like, well, other hockey families that we've known, the Sutters, the Howes, the Plagers. We might just see a little Brodeur.
I was just going to say, you know, you and I have been following a lot of sports for a lot of years, and hockey, of course, being one of them. And it seems that you see this kind of generational lineage sort of thing more in the NHL than you do, say, in Major League Baseball, which is where one might think you would see it a lot. And we do see it there, don't get me wrong. But it seems to be more prevalent in the NHL.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, you know, it's what an expectation if you think about it, man. I don't know if I'd want to have my father be the leader in any kind of sport that I'm trying to break into. So, of course, they're trying to downplay that and realize they can't be their father, Martin Brodeur, and they harken back to his sage-old advice, whatever you do, just stop the puck.
I was going to say, because apparently, you know, the one son plays on his knees the whole game, so doesn't want to take after his father.
Well, and the other twin, he said, "To heck with this! I'm not even getting involved in this nonsense."
Yeah. I'd rather shoot the pucks.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to shoot the puck at the guy.
Y'all are stupid for taking pucks.
Yeah, I love it. And of course, hey, I'm going to hit you up with one last family ties kind of thing for the NHL, and this too goes back to this date, on the 5th of December. Who would have known there would have been so much to learn in my segment tonight? But on the 5th of December, back in 1968, a young rookie goalie named Tony Esposito breaks in with the Montreal Canadiens to play his first game on the ice. Now, who do you suppose was there to cheer him on? How about his big brother, Phil Esposito? And to celebrate, Phil did what? Oh, how about score twice against his brother?
Why not, man? Why not?
Debut. You better believe it. Talk about your family ties right there. Now, we know Tony O would go on and so would Phil, but that's an inimitable first start for anybody, right?
We know that sibling rivalry.
I know all about it. Wicked wrist shot.
All right, Mark, thanks for bringing us a little bit of the frozen pods this week. We'll get you back.
Absolutely.
Take care. Alrighty, well, there's our NHL chat for the week. And again, many thanks to our friends at Herb FM Sports Radio for bringing our regular NHL hat trick segment. Be sure to give them a look up and a listen on the internet. All right. Lots and lots of important and, well, some not so important NFL news as we enter week 14 of the season and playoff implications are looming. So let's open it up with a few minutes of chat, huh?
And now, 4 minutes of football.
Alrighty, well, let's start it out with this one. How about two divergent stories about sports and celebrities? Anna Mozart has been a big fan of Peyton Manning. So when she was getting married, for the fun of it, she invited her favorite quarterback to the event. She really didn't expect a reply, but while it was a little late in coming back and responding, she and her husband received in the mail a one-of-a-kind piece of sports memorabilia. You gotta give it to him for a classy move, really, seriously.
So, are you going to be asking him to RSVP for Christmas?
No, I thought you were going to ask whether I was going to invite him to my wedding. That's not happening anytime soon.
I was going to say.
No.
As close as you two are, I was going to say he'd be in the wedding, wouldn't he?
Listen, meantime, at the divergency, meantime, out in Houston, New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady, well, he graciously granted the request by two Reliant Stadium security guards to pose in a picture with him. Good guy, that Tom Brady. And the security guards now have their own piece of unique sports memorabilia. And I hope that they're enjoying their newfound treasure because as a result, they no longer have their jobs. Apparently, stadium security have strict policies about requesting photos or autographs from players.
Okay, you're killing me with this.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I understand you don't want to be going and, and bugging every, guy that comes down the line, but...
come on, really? I mean,
I hear you. All right.
Look at what kind of security guards they are. I mean, come on. Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
yes.
Thursday night, the big news this week. During Thursday night Steelers-Ravens game, Mike Tomlin impeded Jacoby Jones on a kickoff return, but was not flagged for interference. The league has issued him a $100,000 fine, said a suspension is not necessary. Everything sounds good up to that point, but we're not done yet. Because the conduct affected a play, the NFL could modify or force the Steelers to forfeit a draft pick after the final order of the 2014 draft is assigned.
Right.
Really? Is this too much?
Thank you. It's way too, in my opinion, it's way too much. Okay, because I'm going to be honest with you, it wasn't until really this evening that you guys have really kind of got me convinced, okay, maybe Tomlin actually did do something here purposeful. Because when I first saw it, I'm thinking to myself, come on, it doesn't even, it could have been an innocent thing. I mean, really. But a $100,000 fine, I think, is enough to say that's it, okay?
Right, I mean, it doesn't warrant a suspension, but we'll take a draft pick, depending on where you're at in the draft.
It's conditional on even that.
Yeah.
And we know where Pittsburgh's going to end up. They're actually going to be pretty good in the draft this year. Leave it alone, all right? The $100,000 fine, okay. Leave it at that. All right. Last but not least, the Washington Redskins were down by 7 points and driving late in the fourth quarter in their Sunday night loss to the New York Giants, 24-17. Things then, though, got very, very confusing on the drive as everyone seemed to kind of lose track of the exact down after the headlinesman incorrectly motioned for the chain crew to advance, resulting in the down box to be automatically changed to reflect a 1. And you can see that right there. There's a 1, but they're behind the line. when in actuality it should have been actually a third down at that point. The Redskins failed to convert on what they thought was a first down, which really was a third, and that resulted in the Redskins trying for a first down on fourth down. But they thought it was second down. Is everybody following me? No, nobody's following me. Listen, even Al Michaels and Chris Collins were vocally barking about the situation live on air as they could see how gruesome this had become. Some now are calling for the use of technology and laser-guided down markers in the determination of the accurate forward progress and ball placement. Now, the technology apparently has been around and it's been developed and is readily available. It's been used in some collegiate exhibitions and the UFL and the Canadian Football League. So it just seems to me that the NFL should get on it and smarten up, huh? Yes?
No, I mean, I understand some people wanting, the integrity of, human error in the game.
I know, I heard that too.
We've got technology like this that I think would enhance the game.
Right.
I know.
Let
the refs screw up some other call.
Well, there's been that conversation about baseball. I mean, should we try to use as much technology as possible, and yet the whole thing has always come back, well, there's the human error in baseball. Again, but see, that was a mess the other night. Seeing that live, nobody knew what the hell was going on. All right, there you go. All right, now, as I mentioned, Week 14 is upon us, and playoff implications abound, and that means we have some really, really great matchups this coming weekend. Not like tonight, not like Trashy Thursday, but listen, let's get to our picks of the week, and that's brought to you by our friends, Carl, and we heard Jim earlier over at CLW83.com. Be sure to get over there, check out their network, and let's get right to our first game, and that's going to be the Indianapolis Colts at the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's a 1 o'clock game on Sunday. And you couldn't start off our picks tonight really better than with the AFC North leading Bengals meeting up with the AFC South leading Colts. The Colts beat the Tennessee Titans last week by 8 points, 22-14. But don't get high on that. Excuse me. It really was no thanks to Andrew Luck, who threw an INT and was sacked 5 times and ended up with a QB rating of 59.4. Nope, the game ball there should have gone to kicker Adam Vinatieri, who had 5 field goals of 47, 48, 45, 37, and 49 yards. Who had them on their fantasy team? Meanwhile, the Bengals got by the San Diego Chargers by just 7, 17-10. Andy Dalton did not look like the 9th-ranked quarterback in the league, but he did manage to get a 22-yard TD to A.J. Green. Now, as we make our considerations here on picks, consider that the Bengals have right now the 6th-ranked defense in the league, only allowing 18 points a game. Cincinnati is a 6-point favorite this Sunday. Where are you going with this one?
Well, this game has playoff implications.
Well, sure it does.
Because, it's a huge game.
Yep.
With the potential loser having to go on and play the Chiefs in the playoffs. So the Bengals are undefeated at home. I'm going to go with the Bengals to stay undefeated at home.
I'm going with Cincinnati as well. I'm going to tell you right now, I've just been really, really unimpressed with Andrew Luck in the past couple of weeks.
You're not high on the Ginger Giant?
No, I'm high on the Ginger Giant this week. Andrew Luck is the one I'm not high on. No, I'm going with the Ginger Giant. I'll take the Bengals this week.
I don't like confrontations.
How about we take a look at the Carolina Panthers, who are going to be at the New Orleans Saints Sunday night, 8:30. And let's stick with 2 additional division leaders, huh? Both the Panthers and the Saints right now have identical 9-3 records at the top of the NFC South. So somebody's coming out of here in second place. The Panthers last week dismissed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 27-6 on Sunday. Cam Newton threw the ball for 263 yards and also led the team in rushing and had a TD of his own. But this weekend, the Panthers will be going up against a slightly tougher defense in the Saints than they saw with the Bucs. New Orleans had I don't know how else to put it, just a really, really
manic Monday.
Very bad night Monday against the Seahawks, losing 34-7. Drew Brees was simply stymied.
Holy nightmare.
I have talked so highly about this guy, just simply stymied all evening, putting the ball in the air 38 times, but only averaging 3.9 yards per completion. They couldn't get anything going on the ground as well. and they just didn't seem to have anything to solve the Seahawks. This was a disappointing game, not only for the Saints and their fans, but viewers like
also
ourselves.
for you because you picked them.
Well, yes, but but here's the thing too.
I'm not.
Both of us said last week at this time that we thought that this could have been the game of the weekend, and unfortunately, it just didn't turn out that way.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. For some people, it was the game of the weekend.
Well, yeah, but it was. I mean, it wasn't.
Well, no, it wasn't competitive.
Yeah, compellingly competitive. Now, albeit we could say the exact same thing right now about this particular matchup, and it might just be one of the best of the entire weekend. New Orleans is a home 3-point favorite. All right, question: do they turn things around this weekend or what?
Well, this after the pounding that the Saints took last week, at the hands of the Seahawks, this is going to seem like Groundhog Day because the Panthers' defense, in my opinion, is very similar to the Seahawks' defense.
Right.
But the difference being the Saints will be home this week in the Dome. So I'm going to give them the advantage, and I'm going to go with the Saints this week.
So the 12th man's going to help them this week?
Yes.
Okay, I got you. I'm going with the Saints as well, and I'll tell you why. I just, the Saints kind of remind me a little bit of the Patriots from a couple of seasons ago. I can't see them losing 2 in a row. And I frankly, despite the fact everybody else has jumped on Seattle and has said that they really think this is the team to beat, I'm sticking by my guns. I think the Saints are. So we're going to talk about Seattle in a couple of moments. But before we do that, let's go over and take a look at the Monday night game, and that's the Dallas Cowboys at the Chicago Bears. And we got two teams here that are fighting to get into the playoffs, meeting on Monday evening. Cowboys right now currently lead the NFC East. They lead it by a tiebreaker. Their record tied, however, with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, that might not be that way come Monday, depending on the outcome of the Eagles-Lions game on Sunday. Last week, the boys stayed on pace by handling the Oakland Raiders 31-24. Tony Romo, quietly the 10th-ranked QB in the league, actually had himself a pretty good day, racking up a 101.7 QB rating. But DeMarco Murray had a monster fantasy day, running in 3 TDs by himself. The Dallas D has been, in my opinion, the big difference this year. They just haven't quite looked right after the loss of D coordinator Rex Ryan. Now, the league's 5th-ranked running back, Matt Forte, had over 150 all-purpose yards on Sunday in the Chicago game, but Brandon Marshall, he wasn't much of a factor in that one. In fact, it was all Alshon Jeffrey with a big day, 249 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. In this particular matchup, I would expect another big day from Forte against a weakened Dallas defense. We could see Jeffrey playing as big a role as he did last week. This game has been a pick'em all week long, sidekick. That is until today. Right now, the Bears are a measly 1-point favorite. Where you got it?
Well, we found out today that Cutler will not be playing
Correct.
Monday. They'll be sticking with McGowan.
Right.
So this is really too close to call. It's almost a coin flip. It's funny that you mentioned how well Tony Romo played because he had a horrible fantasy day for me. So subsequently, I've benched him this week because I don't like this matchup at all. I'm going to go with the Bears on this because I don't like this matchup for the Cowboys.
I don't either. Where I don't like it is I don't like it defensively. That's where I don't like it. And I think that's been the biggest weakness of the Cowboys this year. If they could have had the same defense that they did last year with the offensive output they've had right now, there's no question who's leading the NFC East and who's going to win it. I like the Chicago Bears as well, and I'm going with them. All right, last but not least, we're going to go back to a Sunday afternoon game, and that's those Seattle Seahawks who we mentioned earlier going to the San Francisco 49ers, and that's a 4:25 game. And I got to say, you brought it up earlier pre-show, this is kind of a must-win in some respects for the 49ers, who are looking to make the playoffs. Now, more than likely, as a wild card, albeit they're not mathematically out of the division winning possibility, but one more, as you pointed out, one more by Seattle, and they've clinched the division.
Yeah.
At 11-1, the Seahawks, only team right now so far, as I just pointed out, who have clinched at least a wild card spot. Now, we've already talked about their 34-7 owning of the New Orleans Saints on Monday, and I believe that game and that performance have made a lot of people say that Russell Wilson and company are the team to beat in the NFC, as I pointed out, but I'm still kind of saying New Orleans. The 49ers moved to 8-4 by beating the St. Louis Rams 23-13. Colin Kaepernick had, in my opinion, probably one of the better games I've seen from him in quite a few weeks, throwing for 275 yards, 1 TD, and a 111.5 QB rating. Interesting defensive matchup here, sidekick. Seattle #1 in defense in the league. San Francisco #5 in the league. 49ers are a mere 2.5-point favorite at home. I know you got some words of wisdom on this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Always. This is my bomb diggity bomb pick, sponsored by CLW83. Give them a listen at www.clw83.com. This is another marquee matchup this week, just like last week. We had, with a huge NFC West showdown between the Seahawks and the 49ers.
Yep.
And I, kind of forgot what I was going to say. So, Seattle is going on the road.
Possible amount of responsibility.
Seattle's going on the road down to San Francisco. So this week they won't have the 12th man like they did last week.
Right.
But I'm looking at them. Colin Kaepernick's going to have a rough day. If you think Drew Brees got stymied, wait till you see what they do to Colin Kaepernick. I expect the Seahawks to go into Candlestick Park, and blow the candles out. So
I think we're in agreement on all four this week. And I think your points are real valid on Colin Kaepernick. He had a good week last week, but I'm going to tell you, we have not seen the Colin Kaepernick from last season really most of this entire season. Perhaps maybe with the exception of week 1, week 2. That might have been it. Just because he had a good game last week, I don't necessarily mean that's going to translate. I got to go with Seattle on this week's game. I think Seattle wants to finish it up. This might just put a nail in the coffin for San Francisco. All right, there's our picks for this week. Now, before we leave football, let's get to our Frat House Sports Fantasy Football League. And there you have it. That was the final week of the season. Both you and I did make the playoffs. All right, and there's our playoff bracket coming up there next. And I may not come out alive, but I'm going in there. I may not. I'm the 8th seed going up against the #1. And, well, you've got a nice little spot there. You ended up #3 in the league, the 3 seed.
Yeah,
but you got yourself a tough
one and done.
Tough competitor on that one.
I'll be in the loser bracket next
So
week.
we'll be
He's someone who can help you.
Listen, I said a congratulations out to all of our Frat House Sports Facebook friends who have joined us in on this year. A lot of fun. It always is. We look forward to having you back with us again next season. I'm saying that for those 8 teams that, are no longer in the hunt with the playoffs. But
except for maybe that Jim Williams guy.
Yeah, we might not. Yeah,
we'll
take a vote on it. We'll take a vote on it. Well, there's a chance, Jim. I don't know. All right,
we'll get back to you.
Well, I am psychic.
Let's go over and take a look at our Frat House Sports Facebook post of the week. And this week was a Today in Sports History post. Again, these things must be getting really, really popular. I have actually heard from people that they look forward to seeing each day what the new one's going to be. So the one that got the most views and most activity, comments, post that I put up remembering the original broadcast of Brian's song, the story of Chicago Bears, Brian Piccolo and Gale Sayers. So good stuff there. If you haven't seen our Today in Sports segments on our Frat House page, it probably means you're not a member. You got to get over there to Facebook, search Frat House Sports, and give us a like. All right? All right, one more thing, too. Make sure you get over and check out our all-new FratHouseSports.net, where you can find all of our videos. And I got to get some new original written content up there, but we'll get that going up there as soon as possible. And you got one more. Yeah.
I got a little bit of shout-out.
Yep.
This weekend, Saturday, 4 p.m., my Mizzou Tigers are taking on the Auburn Tigers for the SEC championship.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that, we let off the show with the miracle that was Auburn upsetting Alabama, and I'm hoping that we have another miracle and the Tigers can knock off Mizzou Tigers
knocks off Auburn. Well, and that was Auburn's that was their second week in a row with a miracle, because the week before that they pulled off a miracle in winning the game that they did. So Yeah, I mean, it's, three's a charm. There should be a miracle in this one. I'm just not quite sure which side it's going to come down on. Personally, I don't have a fight on this one. It doesn't make any difference to me, but it should be one hell of a game. It's going to be an interesting SEC, and a great one too, because we got two teams in there that were in the bottom of both their respective divisions in the SEC last year. So good for the SEC. We like that kind of stuff. All right, chock full of news there for you. Chock full of sports. Man, oh man, did we bring it all to you tonight. All right, we're going to be here right back here with you next week. We're going to be talking bowls, college bowls, all kinds of more playoff stuff, all kinds of stuff next week. In the meantime, you know what you got to do for us? You got to keep us real, you got to keep us live. You got to keep us going. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Jim Williams, I'm coming for you. No, I don't get a chance
Let's see here.
defend myself.
Jim's a number 7. Jim's a number 7 in the fantasy.
Ahead of you.
Hey, it doesn't
Just
matter
ahead of
where
me.
you are in the dance. As long as I got a card for the dance, I'm in the dance. Okay.
You got it.
So go ahead. What do you got to say about this, Williams?
No, all I'm going to say is this. Let's let the chips fall where they may. Stop the trash talking. Let everything happen. Let the players do the talking, not the mouthpieces. You know what I mean?
The players. I see.
That's all I'm saying.
Let's move it ahead and see who Jim's playing this week. Let's see. Jim will be playing, let's see, where Jim's
it doesn't matter who I'm playing.
He's down there against not Mrs. Hernandez. Now, you do realize that's a woman.
Yes.
No.
Hey, Jim, that would be my sister.
Go, Jim.
I can't be seriously mad. Who am I kidding?
Free reign to say whatever you want. You've got the frat house boys right where you want them.
No. I'm just one who says, may the best person win. That's all I'm looking at. I'm not going to trash talk. I'm above that. You see what I mean?
I think he's trash talking by telling us he's not trash talking. What do you think?
I don't know.
I am not trash talking.
His championship run's got to come through me.
And if it comes through you, you're going down hard.
Is that a bracket? That's a bracket down there. So those guys, right. If Ian's Iron Eagles moves on, that one will play the winner.
It's Ian's Iron Eagles.
I'm sorry.
Eagle.
That one will play Team Blood, the winner of Team Blood Pack or Rampage. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So.